Hello everyone, welcome to this video. The title of it is going to be, do this every time you get your paycheck. So a routine with your paycheck when you receive it. And so some of this is kind of simple, probably know some of it already, but it's just, I don't think people spend enough time thinking about this, let alone acting on it. It's like, even if you do think on it, like, oh, I'm going to do this stuff when I get my paycheck. Do you actually sit down and make sure that those things are happening, right, is the real question. And so we want to bridge the gap here from either misinformed to correctly informed, or if you're already informed, know some of these things, from being informed to actually doing these things, or like the difference between knowing something and doing. And so as we work through this routine, the first thing I'm going to bring up is tithing, right? And so tithing is I think a really important biblical money concept and principle for believers. And it is not about buying our favor from God, or I heard somebody the other day say it as like, I got to buy my way into heaven. It's like, it's definitely not the point. Really, it has nothing to do with money, but everything to do with priority, with trust, with faith. What are you actually putting first, right? Idolizing, finding your security and your value in, right? And the answer should be God. But a lot of us, including myself, struggle with idolizing other things. Money being one of them. Money is like one of God's biggest competitions here on earth when it comes to us idolizing things over Him, right? And so tithing is an act or a financial strategy, a life strategy really, right, that shows who's really first in our hearts. Is it God or is it our money, right? Do we trust God enough to be able to give Him back the first 10%, right? Or are we hoarding out of fear? And so it really has nothing to do with money, instead an act of obedience that helps us build our faith more and more in God, right? And really kind of just shows where our heart and our trust is. And I struggle with this a lot myself. Tithing in the past, yes, but really just the idolization of money. Like a form of idolization of money that I've struggled with before is like finding my security in money, right? So if I give away money, tithe or not, I no longer have security, or my security is threatened. And I don't think that's how God wants us to live. Don't get me wrong. Money gives us a sense of security, right? It's a little bit of a layer of security. It helps with several things, but it's not our source of security, right? That's God. And so really tithing helps us put God first. It's a very practical way to put God first. Another practical way of putting God first is just think about, like, before you eat, you pray, right? The reason for that is to put God before the food. When I get into the gym parking lot, before I go into the gym, I pray, I'm like, God, thank you for the resources for getting me here. Allow this, exercise here and this workout to glorify you, right? And it's just putting God before the workout, right? Again, I'm not over here saying I'm perfect with all of this stuff I'm talking about, just using some examples that hopefully just make it easy for you to understand the objective behind these things, particularly tithing, right? So tithing would be, like the Bible says, 10%. You could do more, you could do less if you'd like. Again, this is something that I really want you to pray on. Like, who cares what I say? Pray on this heavily and see what God tells you, right? But let's just say the tithe does translate in a lot of ways to a tenth, right? So if your paycheck is $3,000, 10% of that would be $300. That would be your tithe, right? And so there's two ways to tithe, I guess, from like a practical standpoint. One way is just to take 10% of your monthly income at the beginning of each month and tithe it immediately. So on the first of the month, even before the paychecks come in, right, you're tithing your 10%. Like, I'm just making this up for fake easy numbers. Let's say that you make $7,000 a month, right? 10% of that would be $700. So before the paychecks even come in, you could do it on the first, give your $700 over. Just like, I just want to pay this over, get this to the church, get this to God's mission, right? And just get my tithe. I hate to say out of the way, it's not it, but like, just to make sure my tithe is being prioritized, right? That's a way to do it. Another way to do it, which I don't think there's any problem with this, is 10% per paycheck when it comes in. So again, if you're making $3,000 per paycheck, right? When the $3,000 comes in, first thing you do is take $300 of it and you tithe, right? I have other lessons that go deeper into tithing. I've got podcast episodes on that. I'd be more than happy if you dropped something in the comments saying you want me to teach further on tithing, right? I would be more than happy to do that. But for the sake of the video, I'm trying to teach you what to do every time you get a paycheck. The first thing would be tithe. The second thing would be to track it in your budget. I think this is where people get like really confused and or uncompliant, right? Or this part of what I'm about to say here kind of hinders people's results with the budget and finances, is that, for one, I don't think that a lot of people run a quality budget in the first place, right? Like, there's a lot of things that go into being a quality budget, right? But I think the biggest thing is that they set the budget at the beginning of the month, maybe, or the beginning of a time frame, but then they don't actually track as they go. Like, oh, I'm budgeting to spend $500 this month on eating out. right? Or $500 this month on groceries, and then they're not tracking as they spend to see how close the actual of their spending is to the budget number that they set, so they can act off that information to stay on budget, right? I think the same thing goes for your income, right? Like, I know it's fixed a lot of times, possibly for some people watching this. Other people may be variable, but like, I just would track it every time it comes in the actual column. Okay, I plan to make this amount of money each month, right? Here's what actually came in. Right. So you can see, is there a difference between budget and actual, right? Because that will lead to a couple of different things that we would have to take care of if so. But worst case scenario, it's just there. You're aware of it. You're seeing it come in. You're counting the dollars God's blessing you with. You're being a good steward of the money God is giving you, right? And so this will also help you understand the mission for it, right? So outside of tithing, right, there's going to be a mission for that money. You want to be able to track it and see the response of like, okay, this is how I want my finances to go this month. This is where I want my paychecks to go this month. This is that reminder, that motivation, that empowerment of information to help me go out and dictate my behaviors for the better. Right. So track it in your budget, and then next allocate it towards your goals. Right. So first and foremost, you got to ask yourself, what goals are you working on? Are you trying to build a savings account? Are you trying to pay off debt? Are you trying to save for buying a house? Are you trying to invest in the stock market, into real estate? Right. Just understanding your goals, I think, is going to be helpful for many reasons. But then when you sit down and go, okay, $3,000 of my paycheck that just came in is going, 300 is going towards tithing. Another couple of thousand are going towards these bills, and I have $500 left over. That's going to go towards my savings account. And I'm going to take that money, the 500, and I'm going to literally transfer it to the savings account to make sure that that's actually happened. Right. And we got one last thing here on this video. But point being here is like, though some of this stuff is simple, people don't take the time to sit down and actually make it happen. It's one thing to have the plan, talk through the plan, think about it a little bit. It's another thing to, okay, my paycheck came in. Can I sit down for 10 minutes, right? 10 minutes. That's why this video is not going to be that long, because it's really not that complicated, right? So 10 minutes and think about, okay, tithing there, boom, right? Okay, tracking in my budget, got it. What's it going towards, right? Okay, and then how much of this can I put towards my goals, and can I actually make that transfer, make that payment, make that deposit, etc. And the last thing I want to say here is like, live your life a little. All right, I'm not saying YOLO and go out and spend your money on things you don't need before you take care of the priorities, but like in this order, right? Like, okay, you've taken care of your priorities, you've been responsible, you've tracked what you need to track, you've tithed, you've allocated, right? It's like, is there money left over that's not needed for anything that you can go live your life with a little bit? If you're in a season of strategic sacrifice, fine, I get it, right? Like, what I mean by that is, I often tell people, like, sacrifice is going to be needed from time to time, but make sure it's coming from a strategic standpoint, not a scarcity standpoint. Like, you're sacrificing going out to eat throughout the next 6 months so you can take that money and put it towards your credit card debt, or take that money and put it towards the down payment on your house, or take that money and put it towards the savings account or the investment account. That's strategic sacrifice. But sacrificing things just out of scarcity with no plan on how to reallocate the money, like, that's not doing you any good, right? And so that's what I mean. If you're in a strategic season of sacrifice, great, so be it, right? But if you're not, like, and you have a little bit of wiggle room to live your life, like, kind of recommend it. We tell our clients all the time at JFF inside the Good Steward program, like, we want you to spend your money. We want you to live your life, but in a calculated, controlled, and confident fashion, right? And so what that means is just making sure that you're budgeting and goal planning correctly to make sure that the money that's coming in is being managed accordingly, and then also allocated towards intentional goals. If that's getting taken care of, right, you got your $500 towards your goals, paid all your bills, right, and you got a few bucks left over to live your life, like, up to you, but like, why not? Why not? And so guilt and shame and fear, like, they're not very helpful when it comes to your finances, let alone faith in totality. And so I hope this video helps. Sometimes things with finances are a little bit more complicated. There's some layers to it, right? But sometimes it's just simple. A lot of things with finances are actually a lot easier than you think, right? I love the quote that it's simple, but not easy. It's simple in theory, but where it becomes not easy is in application, like actually going out and doing this. So I challenge you, spend a few minutes after this video, right? Sit down and ask yourself, how are you going to implement these things? Right. And then, if you guys need further help here, I have a company called JFF, or Journey to Financial Freedom. And inside that company is a program. It's called the Good Steward program. Right. And it's an incredible program. We've had close to 1,000 people go through it. There's about 110 people active in it right now. And we have helped hundreds of believers get their finances in order in a way that aligns with biblical wisdom, glorifies God in the process, but without all of that outdated, fearful, and restrictive feelings finances usually brings on people. Right. So if you want to get your money right, grow your money, money, be a good steward of your money like God calls us to do, I think this program might be for you. So there's a link in my bio that you can click to book a call with one of my team members, and they'll just take you through all the details of the program, help figure out if it's a good fit for you. And if it is, what's the best way to move forward? I like to tell people most times, like, you're probably spending our monthly payment on things that you don't need anyways, that you want to cut out of the budget. Either way, we might as well just help you reallocate that to an amazing service with an incredible return on investment. So if you could have gotten your, again, not that you're not capable, but like I tell people all the time, like, especially as grown adults, like if we could have got our finances together on our own, we would have already, and there's no shame in the game of needing help, right? I think the wise actually seek counsel. And we had somebody sign up for our services last week, and she initially took the call that I'm hoping some of you take about 6 months or so ago, maybe a year ago, before she actually signed up. And she was like, it was so dumb for me to wait. I got in so much deeper of a hole and so much more stress by just waiting. I should have just hopped in last year, right? So like, I just want to, give that to you as well. Like, delay is costly. This is something that's been on your heart, that you've been praying about. You're asking God to open up a door for you, right? Maybe this is that door, right? But it's on you to walk through it. So click the link in the bio, book a call with one of my team members, and we'd be honored to chat with you. And we'll see you in the next video.